Chazal say, "Hakol holech achar hachasim." Everything depends on how things end. Endings are important. So we're getting close to Pesach. We have to start thinking about Pesach a little bit. So, how does the Seder end? How does the Seder end? It always was surprising to me. The Seder ends with songs that are, I have to say it, like childish, Echad miyadeh, who knows one? I know one. Who knows two? I know two. It's like, it's a funny thing. And then the end is Chad Gadya, also a similar song like that, everything going back to its own beginning. If the Seder night, if Pesach sort of ends with these songs of Echad miyadeh, who knows one, Chad Gadya, we have to understand that. That's significant. What's the Rebbeinu Shalom telling us with that? Why did Chazal put that at the end of the Haggadah? Okay, we'll keep that back in the mind for a second. In this week's parsha, we have the story, the tragic story, of the death of Nadav and Avihu. The pasuk tells us that on the 8th day of the inauguration of the Mishkan, which was the final day of the inauguration, the most exciting day of the inauguration. So in the excitement, in the hubbub, so the two eldest sons of Aaron, Nadav and Avihu, get carried away on their level, and they bring an Eish Zara. They decide to do something on their own. They take incense that they were not commanded by Moshe and Aaron to do. They take incense on their own. They bring it to the Beis Hamikdash. They offer it as a sacrifice to Hashem. L'shem Shemaim, it's not idol worship. They're doing it for Hashem's sake. But it's, again, as the Torah says, not what Moshe Rabbeinu commanded, and because of that, the fire comes down, and Lo Aleinu, they're killed. So it's a tragic event. Moshe Rabbeinu, in fact, when he talks to Aaron afterwards and tries to give him a little bit of nechama over the death of his two sons, so he says to Moshe and Aaron, you should know that Nadav and Avihu, in a certain sense, are greater than each and every one of us. They're greater than us. Moshe Rabbeinu said that when the Rebbeinu Shalom and Har Sinai, the Rebbeinu Shalom told me that by the Mishkan, the Kroivei HaKadosh, I will be sanctified by those that are close to me. And Moshe Rabbeinu said, I thought he was talking about me and you, me and myself and Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron. But the truth is, it's now clear that it was not referring to me, Moshe and Aaron. It's referring to Nadav and Avihu. And Nadav and Avihu, in a certain sense, are called Kroivim. They're called close to Hashem, even more than Moshe and Aaron. Right, so how do you make sense of that? The whole sin of Nadav and Avihu is hard to understand. Chazal and the Gemara and the Medrash try to figure out what exactly their sin was. What was their mistake? I think Gemara gives a whole bunch of answers. One is that they brought incense they weren't commanded to. Another issue was that they weren't married, they neglected to put in the effort to get married properly. Another issue was that they came into the Mishkan after drinking some wine. Whenever you have Chazal give a lot of answers to one question, it means they're not telling you the right answer. You know what I'm saying? It's like they're hiding something. So what is the sin of Nadav and Avihu about? More than that, what makes it even stranger is that the next parsha, in the aftermath of this tragedy, the death of Nadav and Avihu, the next parsha is that Moshe Rabbeinu Moshe and Aaron are told by Hashem the mitzvah of kashrus, of what animals are kosher, what fish are kosher, what birds are kosher, and so on, the halachas of kashrus. And so what is that? How is that the reaction to Nadav and Avihu? Like, what does that have to do with anything? It seems to be out of place. And we know that it can't just be insignificant, the fact that that's the mitzvah that's given to us right after the story of Nadav and Avihu. Alright, so what's going on over here? Okay, so let me share with you something that the Rizal revealed. The Rizal said this. It's going to sound a little bit out there, and it is. Okay, but then I'll try to sort of translate it to bring it down to earth. We know Hashem has a lot of names, right? Hashem has a lot of names. And whenever Hashem sort of relates to us in different ways, so we have different names for those relationships. Right? So for example, when Hashem is showing kindness to the world, the name that we describe Him with is Kel. Kel's kindness. And so on and so forth. There's other different names. What was the name that Hashem, sort of identified Himself with in terms of getting us out of Mitzrayim? So Moshe Rabbeinu already asked the question, right? Moshe Rabbeinu going back to Parshas Shimini by the burning bush. So Hashem says to him, go take my people out, and so on. And Moshe Rabbeinu says, okay, and they're going to ask me what your name is. What do I say? So the name is Eke. Eke Asher Eke. What does the name Eke mean? Eke means I will be. So it's interesting. So said the Rizal like this. Rizal said, Nadav and Avihu saw this is the 8th day of the inauguration, right? So they figured this is an amazing opportunity. It's an amazing opportunity. They felt that this was an auspicious time to seal the deal. Let's just bring Mashiach, let's finish it. And they figured this was their cheshbon. They figured the following thing. If the redemption from Egypt came with the name Eke, then Mistama, it would make sense to say that the redemption from all of Gullus would also be with that name Eke. So what they did is like this. This is a little bit like Gematria over here, so just bear with me for a second. The name Eke, Aleph, Hey, Yud, Hey, right? If you take each one of those letters and spell them out in full, so Aleph is Aleph, Lamed, Pei, Aleph, right, and so on. There are 3 different ways to spell that name. Aleph is always Aleph, Lamed, Pei, but the letter Hey can be spelled in different ways. You can spell Hey, Hey Yud, it's also Hey. You can spell it Hey, Hey, or Hey Aleph. If you take the full gematria of the name Aleph, Hey, Yud, Hey, spelled in full in all 3 ways, it equals begematria the word machta, a pan. A pan. Said the Arizal, when Nadav and Avihu came and took the incense and put it in that pan, what they were accessing, what they were tapping into was the energy, the full energy of that name Eke. The name Eke was used to take us out of Mitzrayim, but in full, when he spelled it out in all its different ways, to unleash all of its potency, that's what Nadav and Avihu were trying to do. That was their kavanah. And their intention was, a sprinkling of that name got us out of Mitzrayim. So you can imagine if that name explodes out in all of its power, it'll mamish bring Mashiach. That was their cheshbon. What was their mistake? So said the Arizal, their mistake is that that's true. The name Eke gets us out of Mitzrayim, and if you unleash its potency, its power, it'll get us out of Gullus too. But here's the trick. Said the Arizal, the trick is you have to connect that name with another name of Hashem called Yud Kei Vav Kei. If you just have the name Eke, I will be, without it being connected to the main name of Hashem Yud Kei Vav Kei, it's destructive. It's destructive. And other than if you were killed. Their problem was that they didn't connect it with the name Yud Kei Vav Kei. I've commenced the result. Okay, so what does that all mean? What does that all mean? And what does that have to do with the mistakes that Chazal enumerate? Talking to Moshe, drinking wine, not getting married. How does this fit into that?
How would they have connected to the name?
How would they have done that as well, right? What was their avodah of that? So the Rizal talks about that. He says that the way that they would have done it was by getting seeking the advice of Moshe Rabbeinu. But we have to explain. All this needs explanation. So it's like this. We know Chazal tell us that the key to get out of Gullus, simply put, is tshuva, right? To become better Jews, to become better. What is the most fundamental quality that a person has to have in order to grow? In order to grow.
6 before that.
That'll help, right? And besides that, on a spiritual, emotional level, in order to grow, a person has to feel that there's something missing. That's Aleph base, right? If your person's happy and complacent with who they are right now, then you're good to go. There's nothing left. A person has to feel that there's something missing, that I can become better. I wish I was better. You have to envision who you want to be in order to then become that person, right? What does the name Eke mean? Simple. There's just a translation of the word. Eke means I will be. It means that who I am now, I'm not so happy with. That's what Eke means. I'm not so happy with who I am now. I wish I was better. I want to be better. That's the ingredient that's necessary for all growth. Complacency is going to create an environment in which there's no growth at all. It stunts your growth. So a little bit of Eke got us out of Mitzrayim. It's Gavaldik. What was the slaver of Egypt, right? What is a slave? A slave has no ideas. He has no dreams. He has no aspirations. Whatever the master tells him, we build a pyramid now, fine. You want me to schlep this rock to that mountain over there? It's fine. In order to get us out of Mitzrayim, the Rebbeinu Shalom had to sprinkle into the Jewish psyche the name Eke. A Jew had to feel that there's something missing in my life. This is not who I'm supposed to be. I could become better. I need to become better, and I will become better. And because of that, there's a certain feeling of I'm not happy with who I am right now. And that's absolutely great. That's Gavaldik. That's how growth happens. But here's the problem. The problem is if that's all a Jew feels, right? If all a person feels is Eke, and not just a little sprinkling of Eke, it's mamish, its power is exploded out. And all the person feels is, whatever I have now is completely useless and absolutely nothing compared to what I should be. That person might be initially motivated to grow, but if you unleash that feeling to its farthest extent, it's self-destructive. It's self-destructive. Because the more a person feels that who they are now is nothing, when divvied out in measure, it's productive for growth. But if a person is overwhelmed with that sense of that who I am now is nothing, and my entire worth is based on what I will be, then it ends up undermining itself. The person ends up falling into depression and sadness, and doesn't have the belief in themselves and the confidence in themselves to even get out of their problem. The problem with Nadav and Avihu is that along with the feeling of Eke, one always has to temper it with the name Yud Kei Vav Kei. What does the name Yud Kei Vav Kei mean? What's the simple translation, or we don't pronounce it, but the translation of the word? You know what the Gra says? The Gra writes in his commentary to Shulchan Aruch that the translation of the name Yud Kei Vav Kei means I am. I am. See, Eke means I will be, indicating that who I am now, I'm not happy with. And that's necessary a little bit. Right? But again, the problem is, too much of that, if that's all a person feels, is that who I am now is nothing, and everything depends on who I will be, it's self-destructive. To the extent that a person has Eke, it has to be tempered and balanced with Yud Kei Vav Kei. With every level of uncertainty a person has in their growth, they always, to that extent, have to hold on to something that they're confident with. See, here's an amazing thing I mentioned with Pesach, right? So the whole Seder night, it's a funny thing, right? I mean, there's a million answers to this question, and the question still remains. The kids ask 4 questions, right? And we don't answer the question. Like, I don't care, you can say all the Shtickl Torah, every Haggadah in the world, it doesn't make any sense, right? The answer is that how do we get out of Mitzrayim? We got out of Mitzrayim with having a question of Eke, of not being satisfied with who we are now. And that's great, that's how you get out of Mitzrayim, but how does the Haggadah end? The ending of the Haggadah is, the whole night, it's been one stream of questions and unanswered questions. Because that's how you grow. You have to feel that who you are right now is unsatisfying. But how does the Haggadah end? By saying, but with all that being said, you should know with confidence and security that you do know something. Echad miyodeh, who knows 1? I know 1. And I know 2. And I know 3. And I know 4. And so on and so forth. And to the extent, in other words, what we're saying is that for a person to grow properly, to the extent that they are acknowledging that which they're missing, to that extent, and this is so important, they also have to acknowledge that which they already have. And that balance between Eke, I will be, and Yud Kei Vav Kei, I am, that's where Geula comes from. This was the mistake of Nadav and Avihu. Again, the mistake of Nadav and Avihu was that they tapped into the explosive energy of Eke without going to Moshe Rabbeinu. See, what's Moshe Rabbeinu? Moshe Aaron is, everything Moshe says is true. Now we can start having debates. You know what I'm saying? Moshe means certainty. Moshe emes, v'sirasei emes. Moshe is certainty. You could have all the debates in the world from Yeshuvah and on, go fight and argue and not be sure and uncertainty. Maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong. Moshe Rabbeinu, echad miyodea, I know Moshe Rabbeinu is right. That's it. Nadav and Avihu's problem was that they took that pan of incense, which was, again, according to Rizal, unlocking the power of uncertainty, unlocking the power of not feeling satisfied with life, but they didn't connect to Moshe Rabbeinu. There was no certainty, it was all doubt. It was all uneasiness. And that's self-destructive. This is also what it means that they drank wine. See, what it was wine? The Shenechnas Yain, we went through Purim, right? A person drinks wine, you have to cite secrets come out. What's a secret? A secret is something, it has a secret and layers and a secret of a secret. It's not obvious, it's not clear. Too much wine, in other words, wine means that there's no certainty. There's no certainty. This means also they didn't get married, right? See, what does getting married mean? Getting married means, a guy can be complicated and deep and a philosopher, and the wife says, all the philosophy is very, very nice, take out the garbage. You know what I'm saying? There's a certain like truth and just down to earth, it is. You know what I'm saying? When a person gets married and has kids. Even Hakala is the same letters as Halacha. What's Halacha? Halacha is, you could say all the Torahs in the world, if you want to complicate things with secrets of Torah and complicated Gemaras and Taisvos and Rambams, this is what we do. This is what we do. And the more complicated we get, the more Eke we get, you have to balance that with halacha, with hakala, with practical, down to earth. It's all very, very nice, but l'maisa, this is what we do. And the more confidence a person has in what they already have and who they are, now you could, to that extent, you could put an eke and you could develop and you could become the person you can become. See, here's an amazing thing. I asked the question, why is it that in the aftermath of Nadav and Avihu's death, Hashem gives us the mitzvah of kashrus? What animals are kosher, what birds are kosher, and so on. It's an amazing thing. So the Beis Yaakov, Rabbi Yaakov Ishbitzer said the following idea. He said, what are the two signs to make an animal kosher? Right? Everyone knows it. Chews its cud and split hooves. Chewing its cud means eke. It means what I ate, let's do it again. I'm not satisfied. I didn't do it right the first time, let's do it again. What does split hoof mean? Split hoof means the animal is able to stand stably. That's your kivavke, I am. A kosher animal means a balance between those two. At the same time, it's chewing its cud, it's unsatisfied. I should be better, I can be better, I will be better. But at the same time, I know where I stand. And I'm confident in where I stand. What creates a kosher fish? That's a profound thing. Kosher fish is fins and scales, right? What is a fin? Fin is about moving. It's about where you are right now is not good enough. You got to go further. That's eke. But at the same time, a kosher fish also has scales. What does scales mean? Scales is like a suit of armor, giving you confidence and strength of who you are, protecting who you are. That's your kivavke. What creates a kosher grasshopper? And for those that like those things, a kosher grasshopper, the Torah says the signs of a grasshopper is if it has 4 legs and 2 additional legs to jump. Also, this idea: 2 additional legs to jump. That's eke. I'm not happy with where I am. I want to go somewhere else. But at the same time, it has another set of legs 4 to keep it stable where it is right now. That's the secret of what it means to be a kosher Jew. To be a kosher Jew means to be someone who chews its cud, has fins, and has 2 legs to jump, but at the same time, it has split hooves, it has scales, and it has 4 stable feet on the ground. That's what it means a yid. And again, that's what's going on Pesach night. Pesach night is all questions and uncertainty and moving and childhood dreams and imagination. But at the end of the day, with all that being said, you stabilize yourself with confidence. But I put on tefillin, and I eat kosher, and I know there's a one God, and that's pretty good. That's pretty good. And to the extent that a person has uncertainty in life, to that extent you got to hold on to some confidence and certainty. That's why it's interesting. The name Eke, Asher Eke, I will be that which I will be, which is the name that got us out of Mitzrayim. The Rizal said that Eke, which is 21, I'm throwing gematries at you, but 21 times 21, it's like Eke squared, equals the gematria the word emes, truth. Truth means it is. Eke means I don't know, but that's the point. Eke squared equals truth. In other words, you have to balance the two. That's why Eke, it's again more gematria, Eke Havaya Eke equals the gematria Chaim, life. That's what life is. That's what Hashem made life is like that, right? That at the same time we're all sitting here right now, we all seem pretty stable. But the truth is, inside of who we are, right? Inside the body is a lot of movement. Blood is flowing back and forth, ruts of Yishav, running and returning, all within the construct of stability. That's what life is. Life is movement, but at the same time stability, holding everything within a construct, within a context of normalcy. And that's where growth comes from. So real Chaim is Eke, Havaya Eke. That's what Chaim is. We should be zech to become kosher yid. That the more we grow, and the more we want to become better, the more we should solidify and remind ourselves about how good we already are and the accomplishments that we already have. All right, shkach.
Thank you, Hashem. Thank